Hey gamers, if you love a day at the beach but want to build a sandcastle from your very own home, then check out Sandcastles. Let's take a look at how this game plays. In this game, players will be drafting tiles to add to their sandcastle in hopes of scoring the highest points. When a player is the active player, they will draw a number of tiles equal to the number of players, so this is set up for a 6-player game, and then they will look at the top tile. They will decide whether they want to keep that tile and put it somewhere in their sandcastle, or pass on it, hope that they're going to get something better, and pass that to the next player. Then the next player will do the same, look at it, decide if they want to keep it, pass it. If it comes around to you and you are the last player in the round, then you will have to keep that tile and put it somewhere in your sandcastle. When placing in your sandcastle, you can place, it is a 5x5 imaginary grid, but you will only get 15 tiles during the game, and you always have to place according to gravity. So in this case, I can place next to my starting tile here, or I can place on top of it because there is something built underneath it. And then for my next tile, the same thing would go. I would put it on top or next to, and then I couldn't extend out more because this is the center bottom tile of your sandcastle. One player will just go around the table until everybody has taken a tile for the round, and then the next player will be the active player and do the same thing, getting first choice at what they look at. And of course, you don't know what else is going to be in the pile, so you do have to kind of hedge your bets and pick what's maybe best for you, but knowing that you might unfortunately have to pass on something later in the round because once you've taken for the round, that is going to be it. Most tiles are these sandcastle tiles, which again are going to be built from the bottom up, but some of the tiles are also these sky tiles, which will always be built in your top row, even if that means that they are floating temporarily. At the end of the game, they will all slide down to come down to wherever the top of your sandcastle is, but they will remain up there, so you also have to pay attention to where they might fall for the purposes of different types of scoring. At the end of the game, each player will have their completed sandcastle. Again, any sky tiles that you had floating will come down to be on the same level as everything else, and then players will proceed into scoring. They will count up the number of seagulls that they have, and then they will score according to a chart. So for example, if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seagulls, that'll get me 13 points. Then players will score their starfish. Starfish will score 2 points for every pair of the same color next to each other, and you can score one multiple times if it's next to 2 different ones. So I would score 3, 6 here, 3, 6 here, but none over here because I don't have another green starfish next to that one. Players will score each row of windows. They can have up to 10 rows of windows because each tile has 2 rows. And they'll score again according to a chart based on how many they have. They need at least 5 to score a point. And if they have 15 or more, they'll score 5 points. Then players will get a sky tile bonus if they have all 5 sky tiles in the 5 columns, then they'll get a bonus 5 points. They'll score any shells that they have. That's just the points that are on them. The same goes for the shovels and the buckets. They're 1, 2, and 3 points respectively. And then there's a bonus for having the most. You have the most shells, which are the least points, you'll get a 3-point bonus. Shovels will be a 2-point bonus, and then buckets will be a 1-point bonus. And then players will just add up all of their points, and whoever has the most points will win, with a couple of different tiebreakers if you happen to run into a tie. I thought that the gameplay of the game was pretty smooth and it worked pretty well. It was definitely a different style of drafting. I have seen it before, and it is kind of slower than, just putting out however many tiles and drafting around the table. It gives you a different type of choice because you don't have perfect information for the round. You don't know what the best tile for you is or what the best tile for somebody else might be that'll come up during going through that pile each turn. So it does keep things interesting. It does keep players a little bit more, I think, invested. If you have the tiles laid out, the person who's last knows, okay, I'm not going to get a choice, so I don't really need to care what other people are drafting because I'm just going to get whatever is left. Whereas they might get stuck with that choice later, because things might get passed around to them and they still have no choice, but there is that opportunity for them, each time, oh, I might get this tile past me, or they might take it, so I might get something different. So it just, I think, keeps players a little bit more invested turn after turn. I did think that the tiles, I don't want to say weren't balanced. I definitely can't speak to that necessarily, but it did seem weird that some tiles would have like a 3-point bucket and a bunch of windows, whereas some would just have a 3-point bucket. And I didn't really understand the reason for that. I guess just for that variety of saying you don't know what you're going to get. Again, it just comes down to that luck of, oh, I could take this tile because it's got 3 points on it, or I could hope something better comes out, but I don't know if something better is going to come out. So it just kind of felt like, again, it was like a little bit of push your luck. Like you have that decision space when you are the active player to say, I want this or I don't want this. But ultimately it did come down to a lot of luck of, because you don't know what else is coming up. You don't know in less than a 6-player count game, you don't know all the tiles that are in the game because you take a bunch out for every other player count. So there's also that added layer of, well, I need more blue starfish, but I don't know if there's any more in the deck because some might have been taken out. So there's also just that level. I think, like I said, it's a very approachable game, so very family oriented. So I think that works well, of just being able to build your little sandcastle. I think that the gameplay is very cute. I will say that scoring felt a little bit clunky because there's just a lot of things you have to score. There's no reference cards for each player to be able to look at and just score easily, especially with having like charts of things for how many windows or how many seagulls and based on how many equals a certain number of points. I wish there was some more reference cards for that so that we could more easily have scored it just individually, everybody just do their own score. So that was a little bit frustrating. I thought scoring kind of took just as long as the game, which I don't want in such a light game. But if you like the theme, it might be worth a couple plays for you. Again, if you like approachable rule set, just know that scoring is, like I said, I feel like a little bit clunky for the style of game that this is. But you can check my full thoughts on the blog today to decide if this one's for you.